Tes, Pak Ganda. Halo, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Jojo.
Okay, Pak Ganda, thank you for making the time. Before I give the deep dive into the interview, I want to give you the context. Currently, I'm studying at Columbia University, and one of the subject is that I need called digital strategy and leadership, where one of the project is I need to interview uh, C-level company in Indonesia that related to my work. And since in the future, perhaps I want to implement blockchain in Indonesia, so that's why I'm trying to interview Paganda. Okay, so I
Okay.
will introduce you. I will try to talk about your background first, and then give a context about the blockchain, and then do some Q&A. Is that clear, Paganda?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Hereby, I'm with Paganda Rusli, who currently serve as Director of Risk Management, Compliance, and Legal of Alobank. Short about Paganda, he graduated from the Bandung Institute of Technology with a degree in mathematics. He has a strong background in risk management and compliance, with over 25 years of professional experience in various areas of credit risk management, including credit policy, risk MIS, risk analytics, and portfolio management. He has managed a range of financial products such as credit cards, personal loans, auto financing, good financing, as well as micro, SMEs, and commercial loans. In addition, he has expertise in non-credit risk areas, including operational risks, market risks, and liquidity risks. Mr. Ganda begin his career at Citibank Indonesia, later moving to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to work at the National Commercial Bank in Saudi Arabia. He subsequently held roles at several banks, including Sampurna Bank, ANZ, and Commonwealth Bank Indonesia, before taking on his current position as Director of Risk Management and Compliance at Alobank in September 2021. Pak Ganda, today I like to talk about the potential of blockchain in Indonesia, especially how it could help tackle challenges with financial inclusion. Indonesia has rapidly grown in blockchain adoption, particularly in cryptocurrency, where we are ranked third globally. But beyond crypto, blockchain itself has unique potential here in providing financial access, securing land rights, and improving supply chain traceability. That's a really important areas for our vast and geographically diverse country. With nearly 48% of Indonesians remain unbanked, many are held back by limited access to traditional banking, especially in remote areas, due to high cost and complex KYC requirements. Blockchain actually could bypass many
Mm.
of these obstacles by enabling low-cost peer-to-peer services, and features like digital identity verification and alternative credit scoring may be especially transformative. So at the same time, blockchain raise may reduce reliance on banks that posing both opportunities and challenges for traditional financial institutions. So in our conversation, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on how banks can remain competitive and what role they should play in this changing ecosystem, and how collaboration with regulators might support inclusive growth. And I look forward to your insight. So my first question to you, Pak Ganda, with blockchain growth in Indonesia, particularly for financial transaction and asset management, the technology poses both opportunities and challenges for traditional banks. So if blockchain's adoption continue to accelerate, there's potential that it could change the landscape of financial service like bank as we know it. So what strategies that do you believe banks should implement to remain relevant and competitive if blockchain adoption accelerates?
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. So just to give a little background about Indonesian banks, yeah. It is the most regulated institution in the country after badly hit by Asian crisis in 1998. Now it is very resilient and that survived even 2008 subprime crisis and other small crises from that year. To give another context also that the banks in the country enjoying a very thick net interest margin, 5 to 10%, with a very huge potential market of unbanked and underbanked, almost 50% of the country of 270 million population. So that's the just to give the context about Indonesian banking. Now regarding your question on the blockchain. Yeah, again, this is my personal opinion. Blockchain was born because of the needs of decentralization and independent, trustable databases and system. So it is also supported highly by recent technology. So we don't talk about blockchain, of course, 10, 15 years ago. So current technology, of course, supporting blockchain, both hardware and software. Nah, bank as a legitimate and perceived as the trustable financial institution, I do believe sooner or later should see this phenomenon and adapt, either to newly created blockchain financial product or modified existing financial product or improve the banking current processes by adapting to the philosophy of blockchain. However, banking should extremely careful in adopting blockchain because blockchain is basically uh, based on the trustable and decentralization, right? While on the other hand, like I mentioned just now, that banking as the financial institution also being perceived as the trusted and reliable institution. So, like it or not, it's competing each other, yeah. So, I think banking should adopt and adapt and playing the right, what to call it, like right products and services and the right strategy, which product and services that can be blockchainable, yeah, if I can use that word. And I personally currently I have no visibility yet on which product or which system that can be changed into blockchain. However, I do believe we should adapt and adopt. And just to give you a little bit context, that currently Indonesian Bank has slowly adopted the AI technology, but haven't focused yet on the blockchain technology. So that's my personal opinion, Jonathan.
Okay, that's loud and clear, Pak.